And we are back live. Shout out to everyone watching live and who are watching after the fact. Welcome back to the Dee and Drew Sports Pod. I'm your host, Drew. My other host, right over there.
What's up? It's D. Good to see you again. March Madness is in full swing. I'm loving it. I went through the roller coaster of emotions on, what was it, Thursday night when the tournament started. I ended it by telling my wife I fucking hate March Madness. I woke up and I was like just ready to rip. We started off with an excellent game. I started watching FAU Northwestern, which is a game I had circled. It was fucking awesome. And then by the time she got home again from work, I was just like, hey, March Madness is great. And she's like, didn't you just say you fucking hated this shit? So I'm in full swing. It's awesome. Upsets, the 1 seeds and the 2 seeds are just stomping out the competition. What is your takeaways from like the tournament so far?
I mean, it's been a little hard to predict, and we were saying before this tournament, like I feel like anybody can win it. We are seeing the talent at the top kind of dominating a bit, but we also seeing a lot of in the middle of these brackets. A lot of these lower seeds are winning, and I don't want to brag or anything. We started day one a little rough. We missed on some big picks, but we got back in there and we cooked on day two. So last you sent me, our bracket was at 89% correct. We set out to put 100% on the board, but I mean, if we could get up to an A minus, like that's pretty damn good board.
Nobody. I just received the alert last night. Nobody in the nation, or at least that's filled out the ESPN tournament bracket challenge, has a perfect bracket left. They all got wiped. There was only like, I think 300 people. And then when JMU won, that wiped them out. So there are no more perfect brackets left. All right. Well, halfway through yesterday, it was like, hey, all of these games are half of these games are done. As of right now, there were like, I think 1,000 like still left in perfect contention, right? But I think an even bigger feat, there were 418 brackets that until halfway through, I'll have to double check. Maybe we'll get it on this, but 418 brackets where they picked no winners through 1.5 days. They did not get a single thing correct. I think that is like harder.
Is impressive. That like hang out with that person and bet against them every day of the rest of their life. Because to have that hit rate is impressive. That's a perfect bracket.
That is in reverse. It's a reverse perfect bracket where you don't get any games right.
Like the probabilities there, if you're 50-50 on a lot of these games, and
you were wrong.
Bro, that guy's having such a shit week.
But it's like, were they just thinking like each 16 seed is going to upset the 1 seed? I think the numbers are a little skewed there.
They lost a bet. They had to let their wife pick their bracket.
Even Giants center fielder Jung Ho Lee, he had a perfect bracket up through the first day, and he was just like, yeah, I don't know anything. I'm just picking based off the colors and then the logo.
I seen a thing where this content creator woman was like, oh, I bet in baseball and I hit because of this, and that. And then someone commented like, well, I bet in baseball and I'm 32-9 and I just bet whichever mascot can kill the other mascot. He's like, so who's really the expert?
Pretty good.
All right, you want to pull up the bracket and let's get through it a little bit?
Yeah, let's go ahead and do this. But man, we had some bangers of games. I think day 2 was even better than day 1, if I had to say so myself. Let me see here. Basketball. Give me the ball because I'm gonna dunk it.
Speaking of basketball, I watched almost all of the Steph Curry doc last night.
Yeah.
Pretty good. It's well edited, well put together. I think the Steph guy can do something in the league.
I think he's going to be pretty influential.
All right, where we starting here?
All right. I mean, as we expected, UConn just stomped the shit out of Stetson. Again, good for you. You made the tournament. Have a cup of coffee and then take off. They just put a beating on them, 91-52. That's pretty crazy.
No surprises. No surprise with Northwestern pick.
This one was a fucking good game, dude. Back and forth the entire way through. Northwestern ties it at the end. FAU, they came down pretty lackadaisical for the last possession and then just chucked up a last second three. I thought they should have ran a set. Everyone was like, what are they doing? Then they take it to overtime, and Northwestern just beats the brakes off of them. Boo Booey, just a class above the rest here. It sucks that this Northwestern team is going to run into a buzzsaw in UConn. If they had a different draw, I think that they really could have beat Purdue. I think they could have beat Houston. I think that they had a chance against UNC, but against UConn, I think that UConn is just too good. They're going to end in the round of 32. But man, if they had gotten a different draw and had to face another one seed, they had a chance.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see if they're competing at such a high level right now. Maybe they do catch UConn, who's coming off an easy win, who thinks maybe they are kind of going to coast for these first two rounds. So, I mean, they're not going to be an easy out, but yeah, I think UConn should have the advantage.
Yeah, but the one thing that we've seen with this UConn team is that they did not let their foot off the gas. And like we'll talk about it in later, but in later games, like a lot of these teams got up by 10 points, by 11, 12 points, and let their foot off the gas. And that's where we've seen them run into problems where you have Samford in day one comes back and realistically, because of a blown call, they end up losing that game where they should have pretty much won. We'll talk about it a little bit later. I have it up here again, the Auburn game, but San Diego State, UAB. This was another good game, back and forth all the way through. Do you have any takeaways from that game?
No, I felt like San Diego State was going to have it, even though UAB put up a fight. And I was honestly just sweating because I was like, "Fuck, we really missed on a couple of these other picks. I really hope San Diego State gets in there." So yeah, I'm feeling good about them right now, especially in the Yale matchup. And now this is setting up for a very interesting Sweet 16 round. If either of these teams go ahead, like, believe is this a rematch? San Diego State, UConn.
I believe so. Yes.
And then Yale and UConn, very close together, both in Connecticut, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that either way, it's going to be an interesting storyline. And I think I kind of want to go Yale with that one after what we've seen from the Yale Auburn game.
Oh man, I think. All right, so let's dig into the Yale Auburn game. The SEC has just been disappointing this entire tournament.
Trash.
I really enjoyed watching SEC basketball this year, but man, I mean, the only ones who really showed out were Texas A&M and Alabama. The rest of them just got dusted, and this is an embarrassing loss for Auburn Tigers. Again, all year they were really good at home, really, sketchy away. But the main story here is that they had a lead of 10 points and they just blew it. And so with Auburn, I know I watched the little bit of the after where they talk, and Charles Barkley was like, "Hey, it's really hard to drive with your foot off the gas." And that was like the perfect metaphor for Auburn. They just let it go. They're like, "Yeah, all right, let's just go ahead and coast. Let's get rid of these nerds, and then we'll move on to San Diego State." And they just fucked it up. And Yale wanted it more. They came back and they made it happen, dude.
Yeah, it's almost like these smaller schools or like non-powerhouse schools going against the better program. At the end of these games, they're kind of like, well, I don't think these smaller schools are going to hit these threes to like get them back into it. And it's like, no, this is where these small schools thrive. If you keep them around, they're going to hit a key three. They're going to get to the free throw line. And like in the clutch moments, like that's where these kind of Cinderella like stories are really coming to fruition.
Especially in the Ivy League specifically. This is the second year in a row that an Ivy League team has won in the tournament. And it is because they have so much continuity with each other. Princeton, who won last year, they don't even accept transfer students. So These guys are literally like together for 4 years. They've developed a trust. They know, understand what each other's strengths and weaknesses are. And that's more than what you could say for any of these other teams that you do have to worry about the transfer portal. You do have to worry about team chemistry. What are we going to do when the lights are the brightest? And realistically, you don't have to worry about that with these Ivy League schools because they're like, hey, we know each other. We got this. Remember a few years back when Cornell was in the tournament. They're waiting for their game, and then it cuts to them on the sideline, and they're playing with a Rubik's cube, timing each other.
Yeah.
Like that's some unreal team chemistry there from the Ivy League.
Yeah, I mean, and these guys, they're running actual plays, they're running actual defenses. And sometimes you get these really talented bigger schools when getting these kind of crunch time moments, and it's all right, who's our main guy who's gonna chuck a three and try to get us to like to the end of this game, where these teams who actually run sets and who are actually performing as a team, they're like, well, we're just going to execute what we know we're going to execute, and that's what's going to pay off in the end. Doesn't always hit, but for most time, like whoever's a veteran team who knows how to run sets and run plays, they're going to be a talented team who hasn't really put it together yet.
Yep. All right, moving down the line, St. Mary's gets upset by Grand Canyon. We actually seen this coming. I think us doing a little bit of scouting ahead of this tournament had us really comfortable with the Grand Canyon pick. When I was telling Sabrina about it, and I go, Grand Canyon won because she actually has a cousin that is on the bench for Grand Canyon.
Wow. Can we get him on the pod?
I'll double check. I'll see. But yeah, he's on the bench for Grand Canyon, and she's like, because it's a Christian university. A lot of people don't know that it's a Christian university because it's like an online school. She's like, by the grace of God. And I go, but they went against St. Mary's. And she's like, oh, I don't know. God had a favorite there.
But our God being St. Mary's God.
Grand Canyon. Yeah, I think Grand Canyon can make some noise here. I mean, they have really good talent, and they're actually pretty deep.
I think they got some dogs on that squad. Like you said, we watched them in their tournament win right before this, and they look good. I mean, they play defense. They're long. I like what they bring to the table, and we saw it on full display. I think they can beat this Alabama. I know when we were picking this bracket, we were kind of like, man, Alabama's streaky. They should be able to win this game. But I think there is a world where Alabama gets cold and Grand Canyon just sticks to it, and they consistently put up points. They consistently play defense, and they can win that game.
Yeah, I think so. And I mean, to go to that Bama game, Bama takes on Charleston. Absolutely zero defense was played in this game, as you can tell, 109 to 96. And a lot of people, Charleston was a trendy pick for an upset just because of their style of play. They don't play any defense as well. They chuck threes. They play fast. That's exactly what Bama did, but Bama has better players. And so I understand the thought process of wanting to go with Charleston because, hey, they play the same style. If Bama just isn't hitting their shots, Charleston will. But at the end of the day, Bama just has better players. And if you play the same style and you have better players, you're going to win.
Yeah, and this is where Grand Canyon can give them a challenge because Grand Canyon's going to play some defense.
Yeah. And I mean, if you get them uncomfortable off their shots, off their timing, realistically, we've seen this Bama team go cold a lot of this season. So I feel comfortable with that pick. If we were to kind of do it over again, I would go GCU over Bama.
Yeah, I think I'd do the same. And then Clemson, Baylor won next.
All right. That's all for this side. Oh, my God. All right. So Houston beats the shit out of Longwood. It wasn't even competitive. But let's go to your pick in Nebraska. Shame. I know. All right. I'm getting shamed for McNeese. I will take that. Mm-hmm. You own up to this one because
it was close in the first half. Kind of got away from them. Did you see how heartbroken Kisei Tominaga was after this game on the sideline? He was
don't give a fuck.
Screaming in pain. No, he was like screaming in emotional pain. And I felt that. And that's all I needed to not feel bad about picking this.
He sucked this game. He was ass this game.
Yeah.
But he was bad.
I was going for the storylines in this part of the bracket. I like if Tominaga goes to Sweet 16, like he's probably the most popular player in this tournament, just hands down.
All
But
right.
yeah,
But
basketball wise,
as I was saying,
I will say we've
a
missed.
small
I missed the
Asian
mark.
boy who needs an interpreter from who is his girlfriend going against an SEC school. You know they're just licking their chop like we're gonna beat the shit out of this guy. Let's go. And realistically, they did get in his head. Did you see he was like wanting to throw down to people? And even the commentators were like, holy shit, like, is he talking shit to them in English or in Japanese? Can someone translate? Like, what can someone
Bro,
read
he
lips?
came with an attitude from the opening tip. Like he was talking shit every time he made a shot. I saw.
Yeah, but he also should have made more shots.
Yeah, it looks bad when it doesn't. You don't win. If he won, he would have been like that. Would have been like a very positive thing. I would be like, oh yeah, he's a dog. He got the edge. But then when you lose, you're like, shouldn't have been talking shit.
Yeah, I mean, of these now this is a really interesting matchup. Texas A&M looked like a fucking powerhouse against Nebraska. Houston has looked like the best team this entire season, but this sets up an interesting matchup because Houston realistically can't play offense with the best of them. We see that Texas A&M almost dropped 100 on Nebraska, and they play really good defense. They played pretty suffocating defense. This sets up an interesting matchup between Houston and Texas A&M. If I had to take a guess, if any 9-1 matchup were to happen or 9-8, this would be the one where I'm like, okay, this could be an upset.
Yeah, I think this more so than the UConn one right now. And then what are the other ones? Purdue, Utah State, Michigan State. It's Michigan State or this Houston game, I think, are the upset alert for me right now.
Yeah. I mean, Texas A&M looked amazing in this game. I mean, they really put it on Nebraska. Nebraska had no answers, and they just didn't have any answers this entire game. They could not figure it out. I would not be surprised if we saw Texas A&M upset Houston.
Yeah. Well, now your pick, James Madison, the one you made correctly.
Yes. And they were just in control this entire game. Before it even really got competitive, they were up and running, and they just never let it go. So shout out JMU, the Dukes taking on Duke next. And Duke was struggling this entire first half. They were only down, or they were only up 4 or 5 at half. And the Catamounts really, put forth an effort. At the end, they pull it out. But if I was a Duke fan, I'd be fucking pissed.
If I'm a Duke fan right now, I'm worried about this JMU game. Like,
yeah,
this James Madison team could go on a run right here. Like, I'm confident they can beat Duke after seeing what they did against Vermont. I'm pretty confident that they can win the next round after that.
We have them winning the next round.
Where do we have them getting to?
We have them losing to Kentucky in the Elite Eight.
Well, that's not going to happen.
But I see them beating Duke. I mean, realistically, the one thing about this Duke team, they're soft. They are soft. If you punch them in the mouth, they will not respond. And so what does this JMU team do? They're gritty. They're tough. They'll get after you.
Yep.
So I see this being a real problem for Duke moving forward, and I don't think they make it past JMU.
Yeah, I don't think they make it. When is that game? I really want to check that one out.
Tomorrow. Tomorrow, I believe this is in West Coast time, but 2:15. I could be wrong.
Bet. All right, next up we had NC State. Yeah, I believed in NC State. I told you DJ Burns is a dog.
We should have taken your first instinct, which would be like keep rolling with NC State.
Yeah,
NC State is hot.
Yeah,
I mean they could easily beat this Oakland team. Then moving down. Oh, do you want to talk about NC State?
Well, I was just gonna say NC State, like they handled Texas Tech. Like I didn't feel like they were ever in danger. Really, it was kind of like Texas Tech was always in striking distance, but they just never felt like they were able to like grab hold of that game. And the thing we got to look out for now is the matchup with Oakland and NC State. They're two very stylistically different teams. Especially everyone's talking about Jack Golke and like him shooting.
He's the cracker of the day.
Only threes. Did you see a shot chart that was like going viral? It's all three
Yeah,
pointers and then like a couple inside the paint. But then you go to DJ Burns, who is like a dominant big in the paint. And so, how is that going to play out? Are three pointers going to win out? Is Burns going to have a day just dominating inside? But you got to look out. I think he got 2 or 3 offensive fouls driving into the uh, paint. So, he's a big body. And if these guys start flopping around, he could get in some foul trouble.
yeah. Moving down, Colorado upsets Florida in a high-scoring game, 102-100. This is actually a really good game. They're going to be taking on Marquette. Marquette, I mean, it looks like they won handedly, but at the end of it, they did pull away. Western Kentucky really did stick in this game, and it makes me think that Colorado has a real chance to run with Marquette.
I don't know. I just don't believe in Colorado. Like, I don't think this Florida team was that great. We were kind of like shaky, like picking Florida to move. Where did we get them? Just next round?
Florida,
Yeah.
we had them losing to Kentucky in the Sweet 16.
Yeah. I think looking back now, I'm like, fuck. I didn't believe that hard of Florida, but I think we were thinking this is a name brand here going against a smaller school, and
The
then
SEC just let us down, dude. The SEC
yeah.
disappointed this entire game or this entire tournament. But
Yeah.
yeah, I don't believe in Marquette really either. Like I don't like Marquette. I told you I don't like this Marquette team.
Is this the weaker side of the bracket down here?
Yes,
Like
this
out of
is.
all the brackets?
I mean, we'll look at it. We're a weak Marquette team, 10 seed Colorado, 14 Oakland, and 11 NC State.
Yeah, once Kentucky goes down, it's like, all right, where are your heavy hitters in this portion of the bracket? And it's really just like these lower seeds that are dogs, and there's no really like premier big names.
Yeah. All right, moving down.
Yeah.
Purdue, Grambling. The one thing with this was a perfect encapsulation of Purdue's game. Kept it close the entire first half. Really, it was Zach Edey. It was the Zach Edey show, and it was one of those things where it was like, well, is Zach Edey good or is he tall? And it was just not answered in this game because
We'll see with Utah.
huh?
We'll see
We'll
what
see with
Utah say.
Utah. Yeah, I think so. So again, I don't really feel great about this Purdue team. I think they maybe make it past Utah State. I have them losing again to McNeese. Yeah, we have them losing to McNeese, but I could see any team with a big man beating them because once you stop Zach Edey, I know they have better guard play this year, but the guards didn't really show up until the second half. So it kind of is what it is at this point. They are who they are. I think they're going to be upset pretty early in this tournament.
Utah State has a chance, definitely.
I hope so. And yeah, I mean, they took on TCU, Utah State. Pretty good. They're rolling as of right now. We talked about these games already. Samford. So this is one that we were watching last time we live streamed. And I mean, just like we were saying before, when you let your foot off the gas, this Kansas team was up pretty comfortably. And then you just keep going. Like, man, this Samford team was a missed call away from advancing in this tournament and really making some noise. But instead, Kansas moved forward. We have the 5 and the 4 seed, Kansas versus Gonzaga. Who do you think takes that?
I mean, I don't feel great about either one right now. I guess I feel better about Gonzaga. But again, like they beat up McNeese, who we saw how far their talent was really going to take them in this tournament. Kansas struggling against Samford. I really, really wanted Samford to pull it out. So to see what Samford could do against Gonzaga, I think I'll go Gonzaga with this one for now. But I really want to see like how these matchups play out in like the first few minutes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And again, moving forward, this was so set up for Purdue to just at least make it to the Elite Eight. Like, if they don't make it to the Elite Eight, like, this is kind of bullshit. This is such an easy part of this bracket.
Yeah. Either way, like on paper you'd think they'd win this round, they'd beat either Gonzaga or Kansas, and just walk into the next round. So they have to be feeling good about themselves in their positioning, but how do they feel on the court?
Yeah. All right. Games for today. Do you want me to pull up the schedule for today?
Yeah, go and pull it up.
Let me see.
I really want to see. I know I want to see the NC State Oakland matchup. Whenever Oregon plays again, I want to see them.
Okay. All right. Today, starting at 9:45, so like in a couple minutes, actually, we got Dayton versus Arizona. That's actually going to be a barn burner of a game. I'm fucking hyped for that. Then we got Gonzaga taking on Kansas. Then, Then UNC taking on Michigan State. That's going to be good. Let me expand this, make this a little bit bigger for you guys. And then Iowa State taking on Washington State, Oakland, NC State at 4:00. Texas, Tennessee. That's going to be a good game. And then this one actually, oh no, I don't know. My game of the day actually might be this last one, this Creighton versus Oregon. That's going to be a barn burner of a game. Which game are you most excited for?
I don't know. The obviously the Oregon one is piquing my interest. I think game of the day is gonna be Oakland NC State because I think they're just both ready right now to take that next step. And then Michigan State UNC. I hope that is my game of the day. I'm like being very cautiously optimistic about Michigan State. They're kind of right now with me with Izzo. Like I need to see them get pretty far before I believe in them. And then Duquesne. I just watching Duquesne is going to be cool. I think they could be Illinois.
Who do you think has the highest scoring game?
Ooh, well, not Bama this time. I think Texas Tennessee has a chance to do that. Actually, I think
Yeah.
Texas they started a little slow in the last game, but I think this is a game where there's going to be some points on the board.
Yeah, I think so too. I think it's going to be a pretty high scoring game. Man, I am really excited. I hope this is either going to be the Michigan State versus UNC is either going to be a super. I know there's two options here, of course. It's either going to be a rock fight back and forth, or it's going to be a just straight up blowout for UNC. I'm hoping for the first one, but I mean we'll see, dude.
Yeah, Caitlin Clark plays today, right?
Yes, she does.
We should do like a women's recap once they get into like I don't know the Sweet 16 or Elite 8.
Okay.
Because LSU won already. Caitlin Clark plays today. A lot of good schools.
Louisville got knocked out.
Yeah, crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah, we can dig into that more probably early next week.
All right.
I think that's everything for today. We got out just in time to go get ready, get some snacks going for the next round of games.
Man, I mean, we're starting off with a bang. This Dayton Arizona game is gonna be fireworks. I'm pretty pumped.
All right, go ahead and like, comment, subscribe. We're gonna be covering every day of this tournament, so make sure you're staying up to date.
All right,
we'll see you next time.
take it easy.